Hey guys, Dion Taylor here. Last week I received an email with somebody that was asking me if they could configure SLA assignments based on creation date. The scenario was that if the case was created between 8 and noon, it needed to have a different SLA than if it was created between noon and 6 p.m. I actually was able to create a Power Automate flow for this, so let's take a look how that works. Before I dive into the Power Automate flow, first I kind of wanted to let you guys know that obviously you need to have those SLAs created in your environment already, right? So you can see here I have my 12 to 5 p.m. SLA, right? So that's for cases that were created between 12 and 6 p.m. in my local time, Eastern. And then I have another SLA for cases that were created between 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. So, right, so 8 a.m. is that morning SLA, and then from 12 to 5, or for 12 to 6, whatever that might be, is that afternoon SLA. And then you also see that I have a default SLA on here already. So what's going to happen is after that I have configured and created that flow is it's going to look at, again, right, that time when that case was created, and then it's going to assign the proper SLA. And if this default SLA is already assigned, it doesn't matter. It's just going to cancel out that one, and then it's just going to grab one of those. So that's how it's going to work. But let me just go ahead and show you that. I'm going to go here to Service, and I'm going to create a case, and I'm just going to use the form here and not to quick create, so you can kind of see how that works. I'm going to create a new case, and let's just say test case, and this is right now it's 9:55 a.m. here, and let's just grab a customer. Sure, active transport, that's fine. And my default SLA is actually looking at the follow-up by date. So I'm going to populate that as well, the 30th. Let's just say, again, right, while this is being created, 9:55 a.m. And I'm going to go ahead and save that. So you'll see that my default SLA has been assigned, and you can also see that it's counting down, right? My first response due based on that SLA. And then if I go to enhanced SLA details, right, you can see here the details on that. Now, let me actually go ahead, and it was actually this guy, but you can see here because that flow, let me actually refresh my screen here. And then you can see that the flow already ran. Let's just give that a second here. And here you can see that my 8 to 12 p.m. SLA has been associated. And then if I go to enhanced SLA details, right, you can see that this was part of that default SLA that's been canceled, right? And now this one is running. Now, for this 8 to 12 p.m. SLA, I only configured that first response. And if you want to know how to set up those SLAs, I actually did an article about that. So I'll drop that in the notes as well. And then if you click further on, you can see this one was also part of that default SLA. So both of those SLA items have been canceled, and we're only left with the SLA item that belongs to this SLA. So that's how it's going to work. So now let's take a look at that Power Automate flow. Okay, so you're going to log into us.flow.microsoft.com, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start creating that flow. So I'm going to click here on Create. And this is going to be obviously an automated cloud flow. So let me just go ahead and click on that. You can fill out the items here. I like to just skip that. I like to get the full page here. And what we're going to do here is this is obviously a record in Dynamics 365, right? Which means that we want the Common Data Service, or Dataverse as it's called right now. So I'm actually going to launch this flow when a record is created, right? We saw that. So let's just go ahead. When a record is created, updated, or deleted in the current environment, my trigger condition obviously is create. The entity name is cases. And then you can pick your scope for this. This is, for me, it's going to be organization. And then you can fill out some additional options, right? In what context are you going to run this? I actually didn't do that, so I'm just going to leave it at that. So I'm going to go ahead and name this flow, assign SLA on time of day. Let's just call it that. There we go. And we are going to click on new step here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to use a compose action because I want to convert the data in that created on field. That's actually the time in UTC, and I want to convert that into my local time, right? Because, right, I need my local time and not the UTC time for that. So I don't really care about the date, right? We only really care about the time that that case was created. And that's why we're using that compose window. So first I'm going to convert that into my own time, but I also am going to use a 24-hour time so that it's easier for me to determine when this case was created. So I only need the hour, right, that the case was created. So if the case was created, at 2/4/2021 at 11:05 a.m., I only need the hour portion of that, which is 11, right? Okay, so let's just go ahead and search for compose, and here we go. So you're going to go ahead and click your mouse into right here, what you see, the inputs field. And then you're going to click here on expression. Now, before I start typing in my expression, let me show you something. We are actually going to, like I just said, right, we're going to use the created on field right over here for in that expression. And if you kind of hover over this, you can see what that is called, right? This is what you're going to use in that expression. Trigger outputs, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read this, but you can see that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to bring up Notepad here real quick. And now I'm going to copy that in here. So again, if you hover over that, you can see that @ sign, I don't need that. And that last curly bracket, I don't need that as well. But I do need this, right? Okay, great. So now that we have that, let's just copy that. So let's get rid of that. And now let's go back to that expression. And I'm going to say, right, we're going to convert from UTC. I'm going to do an open bracket. And now I'm going to, right, this is the timestamp field. From which field do we want to convert? I'm going to copy that in there. So that's what that's that created on field, right, that we just had here in Notepad. Then what I want to do here is I don't want this last bracket over here yet. I don't want it to close yet, right? I need some additional information here. And let me see here. We actually need to get rid of this curly bracket as well. So here we go. I'm going to go put my mouse before that bracket. I'm going to do a comma, and you can see here that now I need to put in my destination time zone. And for me, that's US Eastern time. And you can actually look that up as well. There's a page where you can look up what you need to put for each of those time zones. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy that in here, right? You got to make sure you do these little, whatever you want to call that as well. And then again, I'm looking just for the hour, right? But I'm looking for 24-hour time. So again, you can see the little icons that I put over here. It's not an icon completely. You got to make sure that you put those in there. And then I'm going to do capital H because I'm looking for that 24-hour time. Okay, I'm going to click OK. And that's it. That is my first compose step. So again, the reason that I'm using that 24-hour time is that I'm going to use a condition later to check if this case was created within the 8 and 11:59 time frame or between 12 and 1700 hours, right? Military time or 24-hour time. So hopefully, this one will make sense as we're going through this. Okay, so the next thing that I need to do is another compose step. And the issue that I was having was that the first compose step that I have over here, that outcome is still going to give me the correct data, right? That hour. But the problem is it's going to give me that in a string format. And if I want to compare numbers, right, it's not going to help if that's in a string format because I can't do anything with that. So I need to make sure that I'm actually going to get an integer instead of that string. So what that means is that I need Flow to see the data that I'm getting back in that first compose step as a number. So that's what I'm going to do here right now. Okay, so we're going to do another compose step. There we go. And I'm going to click into that. And then I'm going to click into expression. So I'm going to type in, I need an integer. So I'm going to int, here it is. And I'm going to do opening bracket. And I want it to turn that output, right? Whatever's coming here from compose 1, that's what I want to turn into that, right? Into that number. So I'm going to say outputs, right? And then the output of whatever the name of this is. So this is called compose, right? If you actually change the name of this step, obviously you need to put whatever that name is. And then I want to put these in there as well. All right, that's it. I'm going to say okay. And now we just changed whatever was in the value in this compose box. Now Flow should see that as a number. So the next step is going to be on condition because now I have that data. So now I want to go ahead and compare that. So I'm going to choose the value, which is, right, that output of that compose 2 step. That's going to be that hour. And I'm going to say if that is greater than or equal to, make sure that I actually, then equal to, that's going to be the number 8, right? So that's 8:01, 8:05, 80 up until 8:59, right? Because after that, it turns into 9 o'clock. But then I'm going to do another one where I'm going to say the output of compose 2, that's that number field, is less than or equal to 11. So this is up to 11:59, right? Less than or equal to. So if that's the case, then I want to go through these steps. Now, what you can do here, this is just the condition for the, right, 8 o'clock until 11:59. So what you can do here, and this is again up to you. I actually did it this way. I added a parallel branch where I'm going to say, I'm going to do another condition. And this is going to be now my outputs. This is going to be for, right, the outputs for 12 o'clock until 5. So I'm going to say is equal to 12, or again, that output is less than or equal to so you can do 5 o'clock, that's up to, right? Because 17 is 5, so you can do up to close to 6 o'clock if you don't want to do that. If you want to do it to 5 o'clock, right? 16:55, you can do it that way, 16:59. So then if it's 5 o'clock, it goes to the next day. So then we can just go ahead and start adding the logic if this is true, right? I'm going to not put anything in here if no. I'm just going to go ahead and say if yes, then this is going to happen. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to query Dynamics 365 for a list of SLAs that are, first of all, active, of course, right? And that are named, you saw earlier, the name of that SLA was 8 to 12 p.m. So I'm going to go ahead and say list records. Here you go, Common Data Service, list records. Obviously, I'm looking for SLAs. There we go. And then what I'm looking for is, again, that filter query, like I just told you, right? We're looking for where the name equals that 8 to 12 p.m. SLA. And obviously, we want to make sure that the SLA is active. So in order to do that, we're going to put in a filter query name equals, and then again, right? Don't forget to put this little thingy in here, whatever that's called, 8 to 12 SLA. So this is whatever it's called, right? Your SLA, and state code equals 1, because I know the state code equals 1 means that it's an active SLA. So I only want to return one SLA, so I'm going to put in here top count is going to be 1. Now, what's going to happen if somebody deactivated that SLA, right? Well, obviously, if it's not found, then the number of records that will be returned is going to be less than 1, right? So you can use that in the next step. All right, so let's go ahead and add that action. And that is, again, a condition. So here it is. And you can see here, this is actually called automatically condition 1. And that's also what we want. So, I mean, condition 3, duh. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use another expression for this. And what I want to do here is I want to see how many items are returned in that list, right? So I'm going to use a compose action for that. So what you can use for this is length. So you can just go ahead and type in expression. Here is that particular guy. So you're going to use the length of whatever is in this list records step, right? So I'm going to actually already have it copied. So this is what that's going to be. Length and then body, right? That's the body of whatever is inside of that list record steps. And then you're going to get the value, right? How many records were returned? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. And then I'm going to say, I want that to be equal to 1, right? I have to have at least 1 SLA returned, obviously. So for no, you can do something. You can send like a notification or something, right? That now the right SLA is not found, so I can't attach it either. So you can do whatever you want there. And then I like to put in a terminate action here so I kind of know what happened. Terminate. Here we go. So you can say this was canceled, this one failed. I like to put in canceled so I kind of know like, okay, well, something happened. It got canceled. And in the next step, now what I need is I'm going to need to get that unique ID of that SLA that we queried for, right? That we found in that list record step. So I'm going to do another add an action. No, I'm not going to do it here. I'm just going to go ahead because it will flow right through here. I'm going to say we're going to do another compose step here. And then, right, this is now called compose 3, which is totally fine. And the reason that I'm using this compose step is because, you know, if I don't do that, we're going to get that apply each step around my logic, and I don't want that. So what I'm going to do here, you're going to click in here and then click on expression. I'm actually going to get the value, right, that unique ID, which is stored in an SLA ID field. So what the 0 means here, this part over here, is basically I'm telling Flow that only to give me the first record of that list records step, right? And I only should have one with that particular name. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm going to put OK in here. And then once I have that unique ID, then I can go ahead and update the case with that proper SLA. So I'm going to do add an action. And I'm going to say update record. There we go, right? And the entity name, again, is going to be cases. Come on, here we go. And then the item ID, obviously, is, let me see, I'm looking for that case when the record is created. Unique identifier of the case. There we go. And then I want to update that SLA field on the case. So let me just go here and search for SLA right over here. So I'm looking for an SLA record, right, to put in here. This is a lookup. So I'm going to type in the entity SLAs, opening bracket. And then obviously I want that output of that compose 3, right? Let's go back here. Of this, that has my SLA ID. So outputs 3, and then make sure that again you close that bracket here as well. All right, so you're going to do the exact same thing here for that second condition, exactly the same what you did over here. So let's just go ahead and open that condition, move to the side here. Right, so we're going to go here again under if yes, right? We're going to do a list records. And then obviously SLAs again. But obviously our filter query is now not going to be from that 8 to 12 p.m. It's actually going to be for my other SLA, which is my 12 to 5 p.m. So let's just modify that here, 12 to 5 p.m. SLA, and state code equals 1. And then again, I want to have the top count to be 1. All right, so you can kind of use, right, what we saw over here for this. See if you can copy this to your clipboard, this condition 3. Add an action, clipboard, and here's the condition. Right, so now I have condition 4 over here. And then again, that's that length is equal to 1. If that's incorrect, then terminate that. So that's great. We just copy that over. And then again, we can use part of this compose. So I'm again going to say copy to my clipboard. My clipboard. And that's my compose action. I just need to make a little bit of a change here, right? Because this list records step is going to be called list records 2. So I need to update that. I'm going to do _2. Update that. Perfect. And we have our update a record step. Again, copy to my clipboard. Add an action, copy to my clipboard, update a record. I'm going to take a look at that. This is all correct. It's just that the SLA needs to be updated from a different output. This is from my compose 4 step, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, compose 4. I'm going to say compose 4. And that is it. Now you can go ahead and save. Now, if you're getting an error while you're saving this, then I would just recommend, let me just go back here, to delete everything down from condition 4 and just manually add it. You saw that I was copying that, and that was giving me a couple of errors. So I just manually reproduced, right, condition 4 and then compose and update record 2 as well. So it's basically the same, right, that we saw in that area over here where our first condition, it's the same thing. Like I said, I'm just going to show you real quick that compose 4 step, right? We're looking here at list records 2 because that's the name of this steps. And then we're going to use the exact same thing, right? That list records 2 values, and then that 0 and an SLA ID as well. And then here is that condition, right? Again, that length, body, list records 2, and then that value, right? So once you're done with that, you can go ahead and test that, and that should be it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe so you'll never miss another video again. Thanks so much for watching, and stay safe, everybody.